back on the Morning Brew with Friends with Victor and Mike, and you guys are just, this is an awesome story. So you guys both served, and you were both in Iraq, different times, but in the same unit, which is awesome. And then you came back and you jumped into farming?
Right. So,
were you always farmers, first of all? Or is this something you learned kind of out in the wild?
So I'm an engineer here in town. I work for the U.S. government on the base. I served in Iraq in 03 and 04. And then I joined a National Guard unit here in town. And that's where I met Mike and some other comrades that we work with. And then in 2010, again, I was a reservist. So I had a real job, which is I'm an engineer.
Right.
And so in 2010, I went to Afghanistan on a provincial reconstruction team helping with governance in Afghanistan. And what that was is we were going to communities, trying to reattach the communities in the hinterlands to Kabul. And it was pretty much a failure.
Oh. And
so after kind of a harrowing experience, I said, well, that's enough. I've had enough. I resigned and I came home and I spoke to these guys and I said, it's really time for me to do something that transcends me. I need to do this for me. Mm-hmm. And then the whole farming thing started. And because it was a numbers issue for me, I saw an opportunity there, and a need and an opportunity, and we just pursued it. And so I told these guys, let's do this. Let's see what we can do.
And what did you say, Mike? You were like, I know where there's some land, and we can do some farming, and we can help some veterans. Or
the way I looked at it was, here we are. He's got some people helping him out on his South Valley property, and we're like, what's going on here? Why do you want me to become a farmer? He's like, you need to become a farmer. And I was like, well, I don't know that I want to become a farmer.
Did you know anything about farming at all?
Not to the extent of a professional farmer, no. Just how to grow a few plants here and there, gardening, not farming. Right. But, as time went on and we started helping out in the community, I started to see a positive impact, and I said, you know what, I want to be part of this. I want to do everything that I can to help you. So that's what I'm doing. And
that's where the Desert Forge came from.
So Desert Forge, yeah. So the name Desert Forge, for instance, we were in an Army unit here in Albuquerque. It's an infantry unit. And, our lineage goes back all the way to the Rough Riders and actually way before the Conquistadors, right? I mean, you can trace our lineage right up to now, to include the guys in Bataan, right? The Bataan Death March. Mm-hmm. Those guys were our heroes, and a lot of our families are connected to them. And so Desert Forge, one of our buddies who we were in the Army with, had the Desert Forge gym here in town. CrossFit gym. And we loved the name, and I said, Tommy, the name really, speaks to who we are. We were born in fire, and we served in the desert, and blah, blah, blah.
Right.
And I said, Tommy, can we use the name? And Tommy's like, sure,
cool.
Do it. So Desert Forge was born, and real quick, we have a little tiny movie company. We have a music therapy program through Full Battle Rattle, our buddy Robert Mitchell, and then we have the Warrior Farmer Project. And the Warrior Farmer Project came about because we needed something to generate revenue. And after looking at the numbers, and he and I talk about this all the time, how much money is spent on food here in New Mexico?
Well, here's the thing. 98% of the food that we produce here in New Mexico leaves the state annually.
Right.
That's mostly alfalfa and hay and whatnot. And then 97% of the food we consume comes from out of the state.
That makes no sense.
Mostly California.
So that's almost a flat economy there.
Right.
So what that equates to is somewhere near $6 billion that leaves the state annually. So if we could capture a percentage of that over the next 5-10 years,
even a little bit makes a big difference.
There's enough money for everyone who's interested in farming to pursue that endeavor. And you don't have to do it on the large scale. Now, there are a lot of people who say that the large-scale farming is the way to go. One of our farmers this last year, after business expenses, came up with $40,000 a head. So
that's huge.
So on 3 acres of land.
Right. And this is some of your footage here. This is where is this farm?
This is that's Casa Grande Farm. That's the largest farm that we partner with. Steve Gonzalez, the owner of Casa Grande Farm, great guy, restaurateur, our mentor, and he made his farm available to us after he saw what we did at his friend's farm, which is Rio Valley Greenhouse, Kathy Caldwell. He saw us there. He said, hey guys, I can really help you with what you're doing. I love what you're doing. Everybody in the South Valley is connected in some way to the military. My grandfather was a Bataan. My uncle was a Marine. My dad was in Vietnam.
And so there's a community around
Right.
support for those folks, right?
And, yeah.
But it hasn't always been that way.
You're right. Yeah, no, it hasn't been that way. We meet farmers all the time. We meet Vietnam veterans, for instance, that have never spoken about their experiences, right? Because when they came home from Vietnam, they weren't welcomed home. You know, and that's a tragedy unto itself. And and so when I came home from the war, I was committed to doing something positive that brought my friends along, with me. And it's transformed my life. I mean, Mike will tell you that when we were in the infantry together, a lot of our friends were struggling with that return home, me included.
Right.
I was a bomb hunter in Iraq in 2003 and 4, and we patrolled the streets looking for the roadside bombs. And it was, it was a really hard transition to come home.
Where every person and every object on the street is a threat.
Right.
And then you have to come home
Right.
and you have to understand that not every person and everything on the street's a threat,
That's
right?
not the only dynamic about coming home. The other dynamic is, you go through the transition assistance program and whatnot, and they teach you how to build a resume and whatnot, and then they teach you how, some of the places to look for jobs, and a lot of people guarantee that they will give veterans preference. Veterans preference to a lot of veterans means we promise to at least look at your resume. That doesn't mean we prefer we're going to hire you over other people.
Or we recognize your skills you learned. Or
Right. So we're in our program, we're trying to bridge that gap between government jobs and private industry, and get people doing something that's meaningful, which is farming right now. Putting food on the table is meaningful. Being at home to raise your family is meaningful.
And if you could bring that food home to your family, even better,
Certainly.
right? So what are you guys growing? What kind of crops?
So right now we're focusing on green chili. Why? It's the moneymaker.
Well, you didn't bring us any?
We didn't bring any.
Oh, next year.
For sure.
Okay.
For sure.
You're on.
Let's put things in perspective. So, just some history. NMSU, the ag school in down there in Cruces, they're the ones who came up with all the cultivars, all the chili cultivars.
Right.
The Sandias, Sandia Hots, AZ88s, New Mexico 64s.
The Big Jim.
All of those are New Mexico cultivars, all from New Mexico, right? And that's the treasure we have from New Mexico.
When you guys with a bunch of chilies there?
That gentleman
are
right there,
jalapenos.
that's our buddy Ben, and he was in a Ranger regiment. He did 5 tours with the Rangers, and those are actually our jalapenos, and that's at Rio Valley Greenhouses.
Do you think he was ever that happy and smiley while he was a Ranger? He looks so
Actually,
proud.
yeah,
He looks so proud.
Ben was happy with and now this is at yet again another farm. This is at Honduras Foundation. This is the family farmstead. That's Casa Grande, and you see all the folks involved. We have kids with us. We have guys that have been in the joint. We have, you name it, we have these folks with us. This is the shade structure. What you're seeing is you're just seeing different elements, different things we've done in the last 2 years. These are all different sites. And so, we provide assistance to the farmers that are helping us, and they're mentoring us, so we help them. For instance, you just saw a guy I met at a coffee shop. Said, hey man, we're doing this. Do you want to join us? Yeah, I do.
That's cool.
And you see that young man there, we all pitch in to help give him some character development.
Yeah, he's the son of our host and mentor, Kathy. In fact, that's him up on the top, helping us.
The greenhouse there?
Yeah, that's him helping us.
So how many acres are you guys kind of in charge of or working with? And
this year we're working with about 8 acres.
Okay.
Last year we worked with about 4 to 5 acres.
Yeah.
All right.
So
That's a lot of work.
And growing, I'm sure.
It's a lot of work.
And how much are you learning about farming?
Oh.
Right. The learning curve's like this.
Yeah.
And we're somewhere in the middle.
You're somewhere on that hockey
and
stick.
now I
of
guess
that
we're
learning
farmers.
curve. That's awesome.
But we knew nothing about farming. We just saw opportunity, and we said, let's go.
That's cool.
There was a need.
One of the big things that we're doing is we're tying the education sector in, the government sector in, and the private sector in. So all the businesses that are involved with us, we promote them. They're local business. We want local business to thrive. We're, like I said, with that private industry, they're finding out things about soil that we didn't know before. That is not being taught in the academic world right now because it's that new.
Right.
So
well, people can learn all about this at desertforge.org.
That's correct.
And you can
And we're on
volunteer there and
Facebook.
donate there and everything else, right?
Yep. You go to our website and see what we're up to.
We'll be back in a couple of seconds on Morning Brew with Friends, and our friends are going to explain to us what this giant no waste thing is. This should be super cool. Back in a couple of seconds on Morning Brew with Friends.
Thanks. Cool.